Real quick, I want to start this video off with a load-bearing word. Nitpicking. That's what we're gonna be doing here today. The Thousand Year Door remake is awesome, I'm super glad we have it, and I would recommend it to anybody who is even remotely interested in playing this game. That being said, if you're a regular here, you've probably noticed that I have been largely favoring the original version of TTYD rather than the remake. There's a few key reasons why, and not all of them are because of that funny little word that starts with and ends with odds. Nintendo, kindly please don't take me down, rent is due. So I'm gonna take this opportunity that the release of the Switch 2 provides to complain about a few small things Nintendo could change to make playing through the remake less of a chore. Now, we're gonna talk about this kind of in relation to upgrade packs, which are the expansions Nintendo is offering for a few games on the Switch 2, such as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. These promise better visuals, loading times, and other miscellaneous beautification stuff like HDR. Could these changes be made in a theoretical TTYD Switch 2 upgrade pack? That is the million-dollar question, or at least the $80 or $90 question. As far as remakes and console generational performance stuff goes, this is probably the most talked about subject and therefore the least interesting. Still, it would be impossible for me not to advocate for just how much better 60 FPS is in an action-adventure RPG game like this. In most JRPGs, having 30 FPS doesn't really affect the flow of the turn-based combat too much. I played Octopath Traveler for the first and second and probably third time on the Nintendo Switch version, which is completely locked to 30 FPS. Later, I bought the game on PC because it went on sale on Steam, and I definitely appreciated the snappier menus, but it wasn't like an eye-opening experience or anything. For those that don't know, having more frames per second is not just to make the game look smoother and better, it actually affects how often your inputs are processed, and because of this, low frame rates can even add input delay. I'm not going to get into an actual technical explanation on this here, but all these companies trying to get you to buy more FPS for an advantage aren't necessarily lying, but they are exaggerating in order to sell more frames. The main part about this that stings is that the original game did run at 60 FPS with no frame drops to speak of when played on good condition original hardware. The remake, meanwhile, hits an inconsistent 30 FPS, which genuinely can mess with the timings of certain inputs. Comparing them side by side, even without playing it, it just looks more responsive. I won't continue to ramble on about FPS, we all know that more FPS equals more better. So the next question I want to ask is, would we even need an upgrade pack for this? From the bit of searching I did, it seems like 60 FPS mods for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are pretty difficult to get working and come with some drawbacks. This would suggest that Nintendo is likely making significant changes to the games under the hood to get 60 FPS working with OEM seamlessness. And honestly, I think this does help justify the extra cost for the Switch 2 upgrade. The thing about the TTYD remake, though, is that it doesn't really have this problem. Literally on release day, and even before release day in some time zones, people had already unlocked the game to 60 FPS, posted about it on forums, and shared videos of it on YouTube. This proves that the TTYD remake could absolutely run at 60 FPS on Switch 2, and although there were a few bugs with these mods, they have largely been ironed out since. I don't think it's likely that they will go out of their way to patch a higher frame rate cap into this game if it's only running in whatever Switch 1 compatibility mode thing they have going on, but hopefully we can see the game run at 60 FPS on official hardware. This next discussion is about as tired as the FPS one, but I figured it was still worth talking about because this is something that is almost for sure going to be improved with Switch 2, and that would be loading times. Faster storage and more processing power makes things happen faster, and there's no reason that the game should have some sort of predetermined thinking time. The load times really hurt in this game on the first Switch. Internal storage on the Switch is said to be the fastest way to load games compared to even a top-tier microSD card, and it still chugs when loading some of the more complicated maps. This footage that you're watching right now was recorded with my game installed on internal storage, and it is definitely noticeably slower than even the original game. I would be shocked if this wasn't hugely improved on most Switch 1 games, let alone the TTYD remake. Personally, I think that games like Mario and Luigi Brothership could use it even more than this game could, but that's a whole separate discussion. Okay, so this here is the real meat of the video, and it's the thing that is by far the biggest sin of the entire Thousand Year Door remake: text speed. When you talk to anybody in this game, their text will auto-fill in the text box at what I would describe as a general reading out loud pace, maybe slightly on the faster side. Wow, mister, you totally saved me. Thanks. I've just got to give you a little reward. My name's Goombella. I'm a junior at the University of Goom. Nice to meet you. So, who are you? Okay, so it's like a little bit faster than my normal reading speed, but it's close. The problem with this is that we read words with our eyes and Brian's at nearly double the speed that we can actually speak them out loud. But hey, this is super common for text boxes in like every video game, so why don't you just press the button to fill in the rest of the text like every other game, and yeah, you can't. This means that every dialogue exchange in the game will take the average player quite a bit longer, and this really adds up over the course of a couple dozen hours. And that's not even to mention if you're trying to completely skip text, which, let's face it, a lot of us end up doing on replays. This is especially true for somebody like me who plays this game several times a year. I know what they say, I know the story, I have videos to make. In the original game, you can mash B to blow through multiple text boxes in a second, with pauses really only being for scripted character movements. So, just to really rub it in, let's do a sped up comparison between the TTYD remake at full text mashing speed, original TTYD at full text mashing speed, and for extra comparison's sake, I'll leave the rest of the other gameplay in too and count up time spent in text boxes with separate timers. Let's run from the beginning of the game to the Chapter 1 title card. Ready? Go. Okay, so right off the bat, things are starting out slightly in favor of the original game. Let's see, we already got prologue title card on the original, prologue on the Switch, and then, okay, Mario's already talking to Crump. Meanwhile, Remake Mario's just disembarking the boat. Crump is dead on the OG side. Mario's going ahead and fighting Crump on the Remake side. And now, yeah, the original's already pulling a fair bit ahead. As you can see, we've only spent about 2 minutes, 3 minutes or so in text boxes in the original, and now we're already up to 4 minutes on the remake, and we're still way back in the Toadsworth cutscene. Now we're going ahead and getting the Goombella tutorial a little bit longer in the remake. And yeah, now the remake is just talking to Frankly. Meanwhile, the original is getting the curse chest for the paper airplane. Okay, original Mario is showing the map to the Thousand Year Door. Remake is still talking to Frankly. You're gonna notice that for a bit. Okay, so original is now done with Frankly, heading down into the sewers, going up to the blooper. Meanwhile, Remake Mario is just killing the Goomba trio. Blooper is dead on the original side, and that is time for the original. About 15 minutes or so. Meanwhile, in the remake, we are just now getting to the airplane curse. So we're just going to go through this dialogue. As you'll notice, it takes a little bit more time. This tutorial also takes a little bit longer. You know, just all these little bits add up. We're already at 12 minutes for text boxes in the remake. Meanwhile, the original took 15 minutes to complete the whole thing. So we're heading back to Franklin's house now. He's still yapping. It's taken a while. Yeah, even at 1250% speed, Professor Frankly has a lot to say to us. Oh yeah, Battletoad, that's new right there. Don't worry about that. Now, Remake Mario's fighting the Blooper. Blooper's talking a little bit. We'll go ahead and burn him. Bonk, bonk, bonk. And now he's dead. And then we'll cross over here, and that is time for the remake as well. Yeah, the remake took about 25 minutes to finish this. Meanwhile, the original only took about 15. And in fact, the remake spent about 15 minutes just in text boxes, which is the entire time that the original took for the prologue. The sports commentary bit is exhausting, so I'm going to turn it back over to the other guy, which is still me. You want to know the funniest part about this entire thing? The game has faster text speeds programmed into it already. If you're reading any sort of repeat text box, it will be skippable like every video game ever made before and since. If you read an NPC's dialogue that you've already read before, or replay a cutscene after dying and using the try again button, then you can skip through text in the exact same fashion as the original. Like, it's right There, all they had to do was just let us skip text like this all the time. Just let the player be responsible for how long they want to spend reading the text instead of forcing a singular speed. So many people that I've talked to about the remake have had this complaint, fellow challenge runners, and even my older sister noticed this on a casual playthrough. In my opinion, this doesn't seem like something that would happen with a simple backwards compatibility mode for the Switch 1 TTYD remake. It's more of a gameplay change that affects how the game plays, completely separate from the hardware. Maybe this would be changed if the game got an upgrade pack, but it is hard saying if this type of gameplay change is even in the scope of an upgrade pack to begin with. Looking at the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom ones, it seems like the closest change to anything resembling gameplay is the addition of a second save slot. And I mean, while I'm laying out my wish list, things like a fast forward button, the ability to save anywhere, and maybe even full cutscene skips would be fantastic features for replayability also, but I don't think any of those things are as necessary to the player experience as the other stuff I've already talked about. I want to close this video by echoing what I said at the start. I think the TTYD Remake is a genuinely fantastic version of the game and has lots to offer for new players and returning players of the original. If you haven't played it yet, play it because you get every bit of magic that the GameCube version has. But when it comes to replaying it, making content, and doing challenges, I think the original is just my preferred version. I have unique needs from this game, and I don't want to assume that these details are nearly as important to the average person. I'm a freak. I'll come out and say it. I need very specific things from my Paper Mario. Things like practice codes and all the gameplay mods available for this are already enough for this to be the preferred version for making content, but if all of that was equal, I would still choose the original because the remake takes more of your time to accomplish much of the same thing. Remember that at the end of the day, this is all just nitpicking for the sake of the game and that there are many more actual problems out there. With that said, thank you so much for watching me talk about it anyways. I don't usually do topical videos like this, but it's a fun little change of pace, so I definitely had fun with it. Shoutouts to the absolute legion of Bringle members for the continued support. I genuinely couldn't do all of this without you. Make sure y'all comment, subscribe, and like if you want to help boost me in the algorithm, but most importantly, take care, and I will see you next time.